Fellas. This a quick weekend. Nothing too
Are
crazy.
y'all asking or telling?
I'm not asking. Well, I don't do
How about
asking.
you? You asking or telling?
Well, I guess he's I guess he's asking because he he don't pay half the rent. But no, hey guys, welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're giving you guys a live on Love and Marriage Detroit season 1, episode 1. We're gonna be breaking it all the way down for you guys. We've been chopping up behind the scenes. Honestly, guys, you know what? Let me just say this, ladies. You know what? After me and Sean be chopping up behind the scenes. I just want to say this. Listen, I was wrong about Gil. That nigga's a dusty.
There was major dust.
There was a lot of dust there, and I'm sorry for that. Yeah, that one there. Woo.
It was a dust storm,
You know
bro.
that my eye was even a little bit, redded up by the dust storm by Gil. We were just remembering that situation, and it came to mind that Gil is a dusty. So, ladies, you were right. Gil was a dusty. Okay, so I'll let you have that one. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to maturation point to learn these things. Okay, but he was a dusty. Okay. Anyway, so we are talking about Love and Marriage DC. Hopefully, he never watches that. We'll never get an interview. But listen, hopefully, Love and Marriage DC Detroit. Sorry, season 1, episode 1. It was an explosive episode, really, really good. And there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot to dive into. But I mean, the video clip we just showed you guys was the start of the madness. But we had some couples here. We had Russell and Kolby. Russell and Kolby were there. Christina, Brandon, and then we have also Anthony and LaToya. And I think there's another fourth couple in the Smiths as well. I don't know if that's another one, but they don't come in as often. But I will provide videos and pictures so you guys. Pictures so you actually can see who the couples are. But let's start it strong. Let's start it straight away, Sean. What was your thoughts on this episode and the couples within this episode as well? What were your thoughts on them?
So, as my caption says, relationships ain't easy because they all got a little bit to them. They all got a little drama in the relationships. I think it started off with a bang. So I'm enjoying watching, but I gotta say, I just don't see this going well, because everybody got something going on. And I think that, they're stuck on these trigger points, which I know we'll dive into, the opening clip, permission. You start talking about permission and asking people things. It's just, I don't know, bro, but I'm enjoying watching it. I definitely am.
Yeah, listen, I enjoyed watching it as well. And I think you're right. There were some interesting things that were happening. Yes, ask for permission. Old boy in the studio. We had Brandon in the studio, and we had Anthony talking about Marvel in Atlanta and not having to come back home, being threatened. And then we had Kolby, who was a wife of, if I remember correct, Kolby, wife of Russell. And she was out here, just snitching, just dry snitching, just dry ass snitching in the group company, telling secrets about what was told to her through her husband as they slept their heads on 1,000 count thread pillows. So it just, honestly, it was wild to see, and I liked it. Can't lie to you. It's got potential this season, where it's going. So yeah, definitely a lot to chop up on this season as well. If you don't know the couples already, I'll just quickly, you can have a look. This couple right here is Russell and Kolby, very beautiful couple, and very, very good looking at that. And they definitely have some chemistry as well. And Kolby's the one on the right who was snitching and telling secrets that she shouldn't have been telling. This one here is Anthony and Christina. Anthony and LaToya, apologies. And, he is, all for the men's, he says. He's all about helping the men and getting men to be at their best selves. And he himself, as said himself, he doesn't get told what to do, but he will do what's best for the family. And he's traditional. And he's all about men being in their traditional positions. And then we have this lovely couple here, which is Brandon and Christina. Brandon and Christina are another couple who, this is a studio guy. the studio guy who literally went to the studio and has different artists, and he thinks that his new artist, who's a baddie a little bit as well, is one person that can help launch his company too. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So we're gonna try and take it little by little. I'm gonna try and bring the clips that are important for you guys, so you can actually watch a little bit of it as well, and go from there as well. So yeah, let me go to the first one. Let's talk about Kristina Brandon. I think because they were talking about their situation, he felt discouraged from doing anything because apparently his wife doesn't support him as the way he wants it to, or so he said.
So you just say I'm going.
And so she never says you can't go. She just bombards me with 21 statements and questions, and basically just discourages my mood from going. Like I rather.
So Brandon and Christina. Brandon's obviously he's in the studio. He's a person who owns a studio where he helps people become artists, and he's doing his own thing. He's quite good at what he does. And then Kristina, I think she's also doing her own thing as well, business wise, and she's also a mother and also etc. But the issue that he brings up to the table is the fact that Kristina is almost, he presents Kristina as being controlling and trying to control his movements, stop him from going to places, like he hasn't been to the club in how long, and stuff like that. What was your thought, Sean? He said she's discouraging his mood from, and everything like that as well. What do you think of their particular situation?
Yeah, I think this is like that clash, right? Where my intentions don't meet your intentions / I still got a little insecurity, and you probably did something to trigger that insecurity too. So I think that two things can be true at the same time. I think, maybe she was just reaching out to him to check in, to see what he was doing. But at a certain point, he's mentioned that she interrogates him. And I think she's not hearing that. And that comes from the insecurity that she has based on what we'll learn later of some things that he hasn't done correctly. I do think that if we choose to stay in relationships, and this is where we see these reality TV show marriages kind of like, we see the cracks in them sometimes, is because someone will do someone a major wrong, right? We'll still stay together, but I'm not doing what I need to do as the one that was hurt to get past whatever happened. But I'm going to stay in the relationship and I'm going to still make you pay. But I feel justified because you hurt me. You get what I'm saying? So I think, he messed up. But if you chose to stay, you also have to get past it, because you're going to continue to hold that person hostage to what they did.
Absolutely. I'll play a little more of the clip because there's more to the conversation.
Then go.
Is there any room for me?
You're gonna join my class, bro. Man movement class.
No, he will not.
Yes, you are joining my class.
No,
bro.
he will not.
See, the man's movement is very.
Now, I think this is quite interesting, right? Because he said, you're going to join my movement, and she immediately blocked it. He actually wasn't talking to her, but he was talking to him, and she immediately blocked it. So whatever's happened in the past, obviously, like I said, it's caused insecurity, but it's also meant that at some point in time, she's over-covering. So, like, now it looks like she's overbearing and looks like she's doing too much because now she's trying to stop something from ever happening again. She's trying to be preventative rather than someone who's creating a cure, and that becomes because of what's happened in the past. I think this also just turns back to what we talked about, I think last week when we talked about the fact that just yesterday night when we talked about the fact that cheating literally destroys a relationship, because now this person can't ever really trust you exactly the same. You've broken a china plate can't be put back together the exact same way. Do you know what I mean? And so her now leaning over too much now. She's now overreaching to now even that when Anthony's telling Brandon, hey, you gonna join my class? She's like, no, he's not. And that in essence, what gonna happen is now that now the person feels like I'm being disrespected. I'm a man, I can answer my own questions. If you don't want me to go, that's fine. Let's have a conversation about it. We can discuss this maybe a little bit later, but you ain't gonna tell me I can't go. I mean, that's exactly what she was doing in that point. And now we're overreaching and it becomes a problem in the relationship too. Go for it, Sean.
100%. And that's why I said these words, just like women get triggered when we talk about submission, right? In a marriage, a man and permission, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to get the rebellion. And I think, and listen, I'm not blaming her. And I think if anything we learned from the last live, and always go for the smoking gun. Sometimes we got to get a little bit deeper than the fact that there was infidelity, right? I'm not excusing that. Whatever it was, whether it was emotional, whether it was figuratively, there was, I understand that. But what happens is if you don't create an environment, and Jay touched on this in the comments earlier, where there's some level of trust, then what I'm going to do is not tell you things because I don't want your reaction. And if you listen to what Brandon has said, he doesn't like the 21 questions. He said that multiple times. He said it to her and he said it to the fellas. And she said, what's wrong with the 21 questions? Because after the first, second, and third, I feel like I'm being interrogated and that you don't trust me. So don't berate me with questions if you don't trust me. So it's very difficult to be with someone that you don't trust, right? So it doesn't, if you want him to be transparent, right? So if you want to know about this new artist, do you make it a safe space for him to come and tell you about the new artist? No, you don't. Because look how you reacted. His boy was talking to him about the man class, which we all know is madness. Is madness, right? But you're gonna not just let it be what it is, and just, guys, we're gonna bump our gums, we're gonna talk foolishness. You don't always have to check us in public, The checking is best done out in the back doors. But because she doesn't fully trust him, she wants to squash it and not even give him an inch to move. But what you don't know about a man is if he wants to do it, he's gonna do it. So don't think if you run him, don't think if you interrogate him, you're going to control the behavior. You're going to make him manipulate and do other things, right? Not to say she owns his actions, but if you really want to know the truth, you need to choose to forgive or not. That's what I think.
No, bro, 100%, and I think from his perspective, I think that moment, I think he stayed quiet because he knows he messed up. And it sounds like that mess up was recent, because you wouldn't be that quiet if it's not recent. Like, do you know what I mean? If it's a time ago, you'd be like, babe, come on. But it might be that it's quite recent as to where he messed up, which is why he's almost kind of, we do this thing where we try to appease the other person. Like, yeah, you kind of disrespected me there, but you kind of disrespected me in that moment. But you know what? I'm gonna let it go because I need the peace in my household right now. I'm down bad. So I'm down a 300 points. Let me keep quiet. Let me let it ride, and let me just keep, make it through this rough patch. But yeah, definitely someone who overreached in that instance. And yeah, the cheating wasn't physical; it was actually emotional. So it was emotionally cheating. That he actually, I think he can't. I don't know if he came to confess. I think he might have confessed himself. I'm not sure. They didn't really explain it full on detail whether he actually confessed it himself. But yeah, it's. You don't want to put yourself in a place where now the person can't tell you anything or can't share anything with you, or they're afraid of your reaction as well. But that goes on both sides. Like, is he also thinking that you're going to do too much? Could that be him assuming? And could it be that you've actually overreacted in some instances as well? So we can hold a balance here. We're not, because we haven't got enough information to determine this actual route. We can say it could be either or at this moment. But what is to be defined is that he did keep a secret and he hasn't told her for whatever reason that is, and that can affect a relationship as well. There's another point that was brought up, I think, later on, which was probably even to do more with couples in this situation as well. So,
like, this year I'm taking them all on. Like, I'm not like turning stuff down.
Good for
I'm not putting myself to the side. I told Brandon, like, we're both parents, like 50-50. Like,
Period.
you gotta help me. Like, it can't be mommy 90%, and then you just get to work. Brandon goes to work early in the morning. He comes home late at night. It's affecting me being able to get out there because we have children. We have a household.
So something that came up also was conversation about the fact that she wants more 50-50 in the household. 50-50 in the household, meaning wanting him to be helping around the house more and be contributing towards that aspect. What's your thoughts on that, Sean? In terms of how that can affect a relationship, in terms of what she's asking, what she's wanting as well.
This stuff be killing a relationship. This stuff be killing a relationship, boy. Relationships ain't easy. I'm gonna keep saying it because you know how many fights. I mean, I have my own. Shoot, in marriage, it's like if you can just my next marriage, God willing, I want to have the chores, the household, how the household is going to run. I want us to have a real tight plan about that before we even get to living together, because that be driving people crazy. And I see where in couples where it's successful, they don't compare. People know their strengths and they fall in line. Where the problem is where she might expect him to do what he does and vice versa, or he is not appreciating her for what she's doing, and then that makes her not want to do the things that she's doing, because some men are really good at it. Like I've seen some of my friends that are married and they have kids, right? And they're good at stepping in, and they're really good at making things surface-wise look, equitable. But for the most part, when it comes to the kids and the running of the house, I usually see my friends' wives doing the heavy lifting. But they compensate in other ways, right? So my friends and I've talked to several of my close friends' wives, and they just get past the I'm trying to be 50-50, or why can't he do what I do? She'll understand, like, hey, listen, he's out here doing X, whether it's he makes more money or not, whatever the story is. I understand that he does X, and this is what he does that I can't do. So I'm okay with doing more on this end, so I don't stress myself out with expecting him to do X. But if I need more here, I'll ask for it, or I'll kind of figure out, hey, can we do X to get this here, right? Like, so if I need a break, can we fix it into our budget where we have a babysitter if it can't be you, right? And I think like people, like, I don't know if Brandon is equipped to do it, but that frustration doesn't go away. And that has to be fixed in relationship. If your relationship is struggling with who does what, you got to fix that. And you got to figure out what works for you. Not about 50-50 and not about I need him to do what I do, but what is going to work for you as a couple, and what can you two both agree to do more or less of? My thoughts.
Oh, bro, you're hitting it on the head. I think also this was one of the it's also interesting because I think at this point, because obviously I believe that she's going to start working as well. She's going to want some equity in him being at home. And this is where the war starts between the man and the woman sometimes, because now she wants to work. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be able to flex and be flexible to be able to accommodate her also working, right? And it all depends again as well. What's the necessity of her working? Does he believe that her work is a necessity? Does he believe that he can pay all the bills and she can stay at home, and that she's choosing to be in this position? And then, because that also changes how people feel about it too, because if you know that, hey, I can pay all the bills, why do you want me? This is the situation with Ashley and DJ Quicksilver. It's like, I can pay all the bills on my own. Why do you want me to change my position? I like my position. You handle the kids, and I'll handle the bills. I don't mind. That's what I like it to be. So that can also be an issue there. But what she's asking for is a bit more equity in him helping around the house. That is, again, like you were saying, Sean, sometimes it's not even about you being equitable. It's about being seen. Some of you niggas don't be seen. That's the problem. You're not seen, like you have to. It's like being at work. Yeah. Some of us, we got away with having an hour and a half lunch break. You know how? Because we were seen. You know what I mean? Like, they can see you, but you really were still on your break. The point is that sometimes people need to be able to see what you're doing. right? If you're a person that, yes, you're at work all the time, great, right? But you need to be seen. Pick up something at home. Okay, now I'm being a bit dark artsy, but I'm just being real with it. Like, some of you are not seen, so it makes it feel like I'm doing everything and you're not involved in anything. And that leaves a person feeling like I'm all alone in this situation, and I can't really get out of the situation. I'm laden with all the burden of responsibility. But no, on a real thing as well, like it's important to be able to I guess compromise a little bit here as well, just to be able to like make it palatable for her, because I think she wants to work. So yeah, they're gonna have to have a really deep conversation about it. Any more thoughts on that, Sean?
Yeah, I think it just you touched it, right? It's like that being seen, that being felt like what you're doing is valued, and then the willingness and the openness to do things differently, right? Because even I had to kind of be open to that idea of the perception, because it's one thing in terms of what you do, and then sometimes it's the perception of what people feel like. And I think you can't always ignore that and dismiss it. And I think as men, sometimes we get very literal and logical. They're like, well, I do X, 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 X. Whereas sometimes a woman is saying, well, I need to feel X. And we have to stop and dismiss, because sometimes I had a habit of doing this, right? Just like, but you're not doing da-da-da-da-da-da-da, okay? And I'm doing da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it's like, but you're not letting me express how I feel. You're just shutting me down. And I think that's something I had to learn, because it's like, but it's not factual. Okay, but you also have to give that person room on how they feel. And how she feels is she doesn't feel like she's getting to do the things that fulfill her. And telling somebody to ignore that and just deal with the fact that he mentioned this, like, well, men have to be out of the house and men work 80 hours a day, just deal with it. You telling her that doesn't take care of those feelings that she has, right? So that's the one thing I think that he needs to get better is understanding her feelings, hearing what she has to say, and then making some moves to what are the realistic things we can do to address those feelings that you have. Because if you just let her sit by herself in this feeling of not feeling valued, not feeling fulfilled, that doesn't just sit in a vacuum. It's going to leap over into the other aspects of your relationship. So I think there is some value in paying attention to and acknowledging, her feelings and a woman's feelings in a relationship.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Definitely. I think that's also a case as well. So I think some ladies have said some things here. It's about a person who's open and giving. We don't talk about 50-50. It's about people who love each other. Both people step up to get done whatever needs to be done. It's a team mindset. Absolutely. I definitely agree. It's a team mindset. We just find it hard as men to be able to do that, because value is not, you're not going to value me if I decide to stay home and you go to work. You understand what I'm saying to you? Most people are not going to value that. Now, if you go to work and I work, you value that. But, our positions oftentimes not valued in reverse. So, but I definitely get that. Whether he can pay all the bills or not is irrelevant. What she's asking for is a right to explore her potential and grow outside of the home. That's not up to him as a couple. It's up to both of them. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's up to both of them and they should have a conversation. And this is a conversation that should have been had from the beginning, right? And I think this is also the toughest part, because women change their minds. This is also what's the difficult part. You don't want to talk about it, but I'll talk about it, right? Because often when I see these TV shows, what happens is there is an agreement. For instance, when Maurice and Letitia aspect, part of it, he kind of ignored what she said. So he's not a very good example. But there's often a change, right? You get to a point, you're like, actually, no, I've got a degree. I've got this. I don't want to stay here in this position forever. I get it. But for us as men, sometimes it's like, wait, hold on. We agreed to stay in our positions and our roles. I'm doing my bit now. Why are we changing it? But I also do concede there is an aspect of what we were saying earlier on, which is you can help around the home a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if, and it's perception too. Because if you come home and you sit on the couch, it's going to be perceived in a particular way. Right. But if you come home and you instantly start cleaning up, or you start instantly helping with the kids, or you instantly take the kids out for a walk or whatever, blah, 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 it's going to be looked at differently. It's oftentimes the perceived effort effort that's also put in sometimes. So I definitely feel like we can help around the home a little bit more. If in this case, if just what she's asking for, I personally feel, like I said, I think it's more optics than anything. You don't look like you're doing much. You come home and you just sit down and you want a meal from me. You know, I've been working hard the same amount of hours you have, and to be fair, she has. And so that's why you have to put a little bit more effort in that aspect as well. So you should get in there and help a little bit out as well. So, you know, that's a real situation too as well. Someone said, yes, a woman change their minds because they grow, and marriage is a journey that you do together. It's not a crime changing mind. It's not. But imagine if I said to you, I don't want to work no more. That's the difference between men and women. If I decided to say to you, I don't want to work no more, I want you to work for the next 5 years, I'll stay home. Now, someone's going to scream out here and say that men will never say that. Yes, because we're not allowed to. And that's the whole point. You're not allowed to, right? But I'm not saying I'm ignoring what you ladies are saying. I'm merely saying that this is also an undercurrent conversation that normally happens of how people feel about the subject, because we can't change position as men. Like you can't say to myself suddenly, well, I don't want to be the project. You want to explore your options? You go for it, baby. I'm going to stay behind for the next 5 years. And I'm going to sit behind and just let you go, and I'll do the kids for a little while. Tabitha Brown is one of very few. So I agree. Tabitha Brown did it, but she one of few. You know.
But remember, Tabitha and Chance had a plan. They had a plan, right? So he became a police officer. Her dream was always to have the level of success she had, and they made short-term sacrifices, which turned a little longer term in order for her to achieve her dreams. And then once she got to a certain level, then they were able to pivot, and he was able to explore other things. Y'all quickly tell us he didn't stop working. Y'all tell us about his foundation every time we talk about her retiring, that man. So he's still working, and he still continues to work, although not in the same profession that he had formerly, which was relatively dangerous, right, as a police officer. However, even if that dynamic, that is very rare. And you have most of us men who don't want that dynamic. So
yep.
Yeah, I don't want to be retired. And I don't know a lot of my fellow brethren who wish to be retired. You know, we might in jest say it, but in reality, there's not many of us that want that. But it works for them, and I celebrate their marriage. But I think that, you know, there's some challenges there, and that change part that you touched on, and a lot of the audience is commenting about, that is the thread that unravels many a marriage. It's that change. It's change and the tolerance for change. Because I think men, not to say we stay the same 100%, but there's certain things we are steadfast on, and our tolerance level for the change is not as high. Whereas women have a higher tolerance level for change, and they have a higher propensity to change certain things before we do, right? Certain things, not all things, not everything, but certain things, right? Like a woman will say, you know, I wanted 5 kids today, and then go down the line after having 1 or 2, and she's like, I'm done. But the man is like, hey, listen, I always wanted 5 kids. That's my dream. Man is probably not going to shift that as much. But we're not the ones that give birth to children. We're not the primary caregivers in most instances to children. So listen, I get it. But those things do change, and people struggle with that, because I think sometimes as men, we so often like the familiarity, right? We like the feeling of how the relationship started, right? You know, when we first got together, you know, the sparks, these things happened. We did this, we did that. You did this for me. You dressed up for me like this. You know, our chemistry, our connection was like this. And then you find often that, you know, men, we will complain after we've been married X number of years. What's changed? What's happened? Well, life has changed. And sometimes we don't have a tolerance and an understanding for how that has happened. We just want that familiarity.
On the money, on the ball. Not gonna lie to you, you know. On the money, on the ball. I definitely hear that. And I say that, and I think that the reason why I mention it, why it's so important, is because, of course, Tabitha Brown is slightly different, but I don't think you won't see change until you actually see our position change. So our position doesn't change. Like, if you're a provider, you're supposed to stay that way. And I think I'm not saying that we shouldn't change. I'm more saying that you get to see an aspect of consistency from our behavior, as in you should be a provider and you should stay in that role. You don't get to say, I'm gonna take some time off and let you handle things. Like, you go ahead and you go and fly that nest. It's very rare you get to see that, right? That change aspect in that instance. And even if there's a change, what you would still expect me to do is that in those 2-3 years, what am I doing? I'm looking after the kids, but am I still making sure you have plans for the future to make sure you're still taking care of the family? Like, you're still in that position almost, in a sense. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, I'm not saying that women shouldn't be able to pursue dreams or anything like that. I'm talking more about the difficulties as to why, as men, it becomes difficult, because we understand that, hey, I've got a role to play and I have to play that role. It can't change. Like, I have to do that. But again, different families, different roles, different situations. And, I'm saying about the difficulties rather than actually whether it has to stay the same or not. As well. So just remember, if you want us to change, just be ready when I say I want to sit at home with these nappies, because I don't mind staying at home and then you pay the bills. Honestly, I couldn't care less. But would you start cussing me? Now, if I ask people in the audience now, if I told you I was your husband, I've worked for 5-6 years, but I say to you, listen, look, you know what? Not even 5-6 years. I've worked for the last maybe 4 years. We've been married, whatever. We've now got a child. I'm saying to you, listen, babe, you go to work. I'll stay at home for the next 2 years. I will be a stay-at-home mom. Remember, I'll be a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, what you want to call it. Remember, I've looked after my siblings, so I really can do this. I just can't breastfeed. But I'm going to stay at home for the next 2 years, look after the kids. How are you going to look at me? Would you be okay with that? Let's keep it real now. So I'm gonna take a little back seat. Maybe I'll pick up a little part-time job. But, little part-time time, I'll do my YouTube on the side, maybe the baby on my shoulder, and you go to work. The majority of the finance are going to be on your necks, but I'm going to hold the baby on my side. Would you be comfortable with that? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have change. What I'm saying to you is to make it more that we can understand where we're coming from, that it can be difficult to adjust to that change, so that's what I would say. Kim said, so long as he keeps himself cute. These women are absolutely ruthless,
and
bro.
Meanwhile, they want to be running around the house in a bonnet and old sweats and my hoodie, right? No. Because you tell us we working around the house all day long. They don't get overtime being, a housewife and taking care of the kids. So he gonna look how he gonna look. His haircut, his line's gonna be to the tilt. The beard's gonna be crazy.
Because I'm running with all these damn kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. So that's just some of the difficulties that people face as well in that respect, in that respect. But yeah, okay. Let me move on from that point. But good conversation, guys. I appreciate it, ladies, as well, for the pushback. It's good to have a bit of pushback. We're not saying it's all 100% our way as well. The next part I want to focus on with them is where is it? I want to put the club part where he was where he was talking. Have I got the right part? I don't know if I got the right part, baby. Okay, cool. Let me just do it this way. What the part where she calls him in the when he's in the yeah, I got it. Fantastic. We got it, guys. Because that was madness.
You calling just to say hey?
Yeah. And see what's how you were coming home tonight, because I didn't know. I'm not allowed to call my husband?
Yeah. I might as well cancel the session now because this whole little flow is gone.
Man said the flow is gone. He said I must well cancel the session. Your ass is wearing me out. You've been taking the energy from me. Bro, talk to me, bro.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. If a little FaceTime call from your wife looking cute does that to you, y'all got to get to fix the root of the problem there. Because, she was being a little aggy, and did you hear what she asked? And that's and sometimes people don't understand those subtle jabs. And I'm not saying he's right, she's wrong. But I was peeping the subtle jabs where she was like, oh, I can't call my husband. Don't try to, and that's how so many arguments go left, right? Because you didn't hear what he said, and you saying like, oh, you can't call it. Nobody said that. He said you're draining his energy because the vibe you're bringing is like a little naggy, right?
Yeah.
So I peeped her on that. She wasn't wrong for checking in to say, hey, babe, there's so many ways to skin a cat. And my grandfather always used to say that Southern expression, right? There was so many better ways that she could have approached that conversation, right? And some people might say, oh, well, there's nothing she could do different. Yes, there is, because there's always a different approach. And again, it doesn't make her right and him wrong or anything. It's about what is going to be for the betterment of their relationship. And I think this is where we so often go wrong in trying to unpack and resolve relationship issues, because we want to make it about the right and the wrong versus about what is going to be for the right of the relationship. You get what I'm saying? It's not about Brandon was wrong, he was rude, she was right, she just loves her husband. It's about what's going to be for the betterment of both of their relationships, right? What's going to be for the betterment of Brandon and Christina. And I think that's what that's the thing that we're going to, that's what we have to like learn how to navigate and figure out, right? How could he have better, knowing what she needed from him, how could he have handled that better? Right? Because certain things are not going to be captured in a phone call and a FaceTime call, right? And I think that is where these two are struggling, because they can't get on the same page. They still haven't dealt with their past issues that they have with each other. And we hear this often, right? And even therapists will tell couples this when they deal with infidelity. You have to understand why it happened. Because if you don't understand why it happened, then it's going to happen again, and you're never going to fully understand. It doesn't make you accountable for that person falling out, right? But what caused the break? And it wasn't just because he just wanted to go out here and have this emotional relationship with this woman. It's never that simple. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, the conversation between himself and her, and that, sometimes you are working. I'm gonna try and keep a balanced perspective. Sometimes you are working, and if you already know what energy or time your partner is on, sometimes when they give you that call, you already know you're asking questions. Well, I can't call my husband. No, but we know what are you calling for? You want to call up and check on me? Make it a checkup on me. You know what I mean? Like, babe, how's it going? Is it going well? Like, do you know what I mean? And keep it as that, But sometimes the tone and the energy can kind of convey that you're actually trying to find out information rather than actually like trying to be like encouraging or uplifting in that moment. At the same time, too, can he respond better? Yeah, he can make sure that, what, babe, it's right now, I want to be focused on the work I'm doing. I appreciate the call. Keep it nice and short, but keep it respectful. You know what I mean? And you kind of guide the conversation elsewhere rather than letting that energy go and dispelling. Which is what he actually felt like. He was dispelling energy towards her. But it could also be the fact that, yes, someone that was put it could be the fact that he felt guilty inside of him because he knows, something could have happened with the old girl, and the fact that he's artist, maybe he's working, a little bit too working a bit too close, you know what I mean? So that's also reality. And like I said, every party needs to be more cognizant of the impact of their behavior. He's working late. He's working beyond his work time. He's working late. He should have actually messaged her before it got to that late part and said, babe, I'm going to be working late. This is how we can solve some issues, right? Now, sufficing that she doesn't move mad, but, babe, I'm going to be working late. I'm going to be working really late. I'll give you a call once I finish in about an hour or two, right? And you have to remember, you said about an hour or two, and maybe you're in the midst of something, you just give your person another call in an hour to say, babe, listen, I might need an extra hour. I'm just really working on this last bit. It's all about the communicational aspect. And that part is so important as well. It's just because what's happened is when someone cheats on you, that person can take on a more anxious disposition. And when we talk about anxious, especially when people who have got anxious attachment, one of the things that they say about anxious people, anxious attachments, is that they need to feel safe and they need to feel that they are secure. So what happens is some people end up calling several times through the day to try and pursue that attachment and that security. So, you know, just to kind of obviously keep, and remember, you cheated. So you're going to have to do a bit of extra work just to kind of bring this into alignment as well. But just a little bit of communication, even a text, babe, hey, look, you know, just thinking about you, but I know I'm going to be a little bit late, just doing a bit more extra bits in here. I'll try and give you a call in about an hour or two once I finish the setup, right? And that's all it takes. Boom, that's it. And you're out and you go about your business again. I do understand how difficult it is, because when you're in a flow, it can be very difficult. And something about being creative, when you're in flow, it is very hard to stop. Just for anybody out there who is a creative, I don't know, maybe women will say they have multitasking ability. Great. At least you tell the truth. You have multitasking ability. I do not. I need to focus on the task that I'm doing, and I need a wholehearted energy. And for those who are so creative, sometimes I'm studying something, yeah, and that's why I remember I used to ask I always wonder why my dad used to get annoyed when you come in the room. When you're studying something and trying to cram something in your brain, you're really trying to download information in that point in time, or download and get yourself into an area of flow where things are just making sense. When someone interrupts, it can be the most frustrating thing, because you were just in a good flow where things were kind of going quickly and it was making sense. So I can also understand that perspective, that it can cut off your flow. That is why I believe he should have messaged her maybe an hour or two ago before that, said, hey babe, I'm in the flow right now. I want to give you a message. I want to message you now and say, hey babe, look, I'm going to be busy for the next hour or two. Give me that time. And you set yourself a time limit in an hour or two. The flow, regardless whether you got a flow in 2 hours or 3 hours, you got to stop and just be able to go like, babe, how are you doing? Just to check up on you, because your relationship is your first ministry. You just don't want to lose that. But I do understand the flow. Yeah, that's hard to get out of, man, when you're in that flow and when stuff is just hitting and going right. You know, when the person's on point and you, no, it's tough. You know what I mean? So just a little bit of communication, you know, a little bit of communication. Elsa said she said I need to keep my workflow. Yeah, so sometimes it is. I also think personally, we're a generation now who are spoiled. Y'all be calling and texting at any time in the day. You would have never had that if the phone wasn't there. You would have never had contact with me for the next 8 to 9 hours. We are spoiled sometimes. So some of you be like, want to have a phone call even my lunch break. You want my lunch break time? Baby, I'm trying to work. Okay, my lunch break is the time I get to relax from some of these crazy cohorts I'm with. Okay, some of them are crazy, and I need time to detox. Give me my lunch break. Let me think. You know what I mean? But it's all different space for different people. Yes, Sean.
Yeah, I think that, you know, sometimes people, again, and I think it's like, what's the betterment for the relationship, right? If you know he's in a creative space, and you often hear a lot of musicians and creative people talk like that, like when they're in a zone, you know, they need to stay in that space. They're trying to create something. They're trying to, whether it's lyrics, whether it's, you know, the right beat, to match it, and you get into a vibe. You have to be in a good, positive space, and someone takes that energy. I don't think people realize the impact of their energies on other people, especially when you're in a relationship, because that means we're married. I know you. You know what I mean? So I know the history. Like she mentions later on, you know it. So when somebody is kind of starting to, like, you know, come a certain way, you're going to feel that. And that can knock you off your creative process. And I think, how do we best communicate that? How do we reestablish trust so that she can give him that space? Because there's been times, right? We'll be on a prime example, right? How many times we've been on a live, right? And we're getting into a good flow, and we're talking about a topic, or we're talking about, you know, a particular show, and then the comments just keep, like, somebody might be just coming for us in the comments, and then somebody turns to 1, turns to 2, that derails you. Mm-hmm. And it can knock you off focus. And then now, in some instances, sometimes I do this. I've been guilty of this, right? You divert your attention from what you're talking about, and now you're addressing the person, and then you get off where you really wanted to be, right? But now your energy is so messed up, sometimes it takes you a while to redirect and get back. And I think that we have to acknowledge that, right? And sometimes just the call alone is like, oh, damn, what now? You know? And it's not, again, I think we got to get out of the who's right and who's wrong. It's about how does that make that person feel? And how can we do better things for the betterment of our relationship?
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting as well, because I think they said something really interesting, right? And I'll give an honest response. Someone said, but we'll be listening to you and doing your work, right? I think there's a difference between passively listening to me whilst you got me in the background listening to you while I was doing your work, and me actually trying to talk to you, because I require your attention. I don't require your attention when I'm doing a YouTube video. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Like, if I'm your partner and I'm talking to you, I require your attention. You actually have to divert your attention away from what you're doing and turn it to me. You do not need to do that when you're watching my YouTube video. You can listen and passively have it there. You can listen, you can give attention to it, but your focus doesn't have to be the YouTube video. Now, maybe if I say some foul stuff, it might do. You might be like, oh.
But Kojo, I'll take it even to another level. But it's your choice to be on here right now. Kojo didn't call you and say, listen, Grace Mercy, I need you on this live right now. I need you in the comments, and I require you to be here. You saw the notification and you chose to come on, and you have a choice, right? So if something comes up and you make a choice to not want to be on this live, you can just as easily not be on it, right? Those don't happen in relationships because there's an expectation.
Come on.
There's an expectation. And I think we missed that, right? So if Brandon made the choice to call her, his wife, right? Her name is Christina. I don't want to call her. If Brandon called Christina, right? Then that's his choice. And whatever develops out of that conversation, he's made the choice to call her. But once you call me, you put me in a position to receive. And then you also have to acknowledge that it can be a disruption. So I don't think we think about that. That's like some people who'll be like, well, I called you and you didn't call me back for 3 hours because I was busy. When you called me, you were ready to talk, but you didn't acknowledge where I was. If you were so upset about when I called you back, right? Now, if I never call you back, I don't call you back for a week, then yeah, you have a right. I'm being, not courteous. But if you expect the person to always be ready when you're ready, that also is a level of selfishness that you have to deal with, right? Because just because I'm ready to talk right now doesn't mean you're ready to talk, right? I could text my wife, right? Because I have a free moment. But if she's at work, that doesn't mean she's going to respond to me right away. And I can't get all worked up. Oh my God, you didn't respond to me for 30 minutes later. She's at work. She's at work. He could have not picked up the phone too, right? How would that have gone if he wouldn't have picked up her call? So, food for thought.
Yeah. Food for thought for everyone. Actually, really good points. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So that's for everybody, guys. So don't worry, it's not just for ladies too. It's for everybody. So man and women, be aware and aware that everybody has choices, and when your choice is taken from you, that's where it becomes painful for a lot of people, right? So when you have choice, it's fine, but when it's taken from you, not so much as well. Okay, I'll shift it for them because I want to keep their last scene to the end. A little bit about actually, no, to be honest, I think no one else. Oh no, the other person was Anthony and Latoya. So I'm gonna go to Anthony and Latoya real quickly because that one was interesting too, because they spoke about the fact that he went to Atlanta, and I want to talk about that as well because that was quite a conversation as well. So let's go there. I'll go to this point. Okay, great. Here we go.
With working with our team there.
But we got a lot of traveling coming up too. We're about to head out to LA. I need to go back to Atlanta and meet with some folks. So I know how you feel. Every time I mention Atlanta, you go, I know. Like,
I'm just saying, I get it. I understand.
Do you really get it? I went to Atlanta for a job opportunity.
So I know I cut it short because obviously copyright, but he was going to say I went to Atlanta for a job opportunity, and unfortunately, he had to come back home with a tail between his legs early because she wanted, and it wasn't actually fleshed out all the way through. I definitely want to hear more of their conversation as to why that happened. I think it's going to happen next week, but I didn't want to hear more of the reason why it got to a point where, like he said, why she was asking for him to come back. What's the reason why she was asking him to come back? He kind of says it, but not really all the way explains it, fleshes it out. But if we take it from his perspective first, and then we'll try to reason with it around, I can see why there might be a little bit of frustration, right? Especially for us as men, we want to achieve things. We are literally valued by what you achieve. And so, wanting to achieve something, maybe being called to Marvel in Atlanta, it seemed like a great opportunity. There's something to achieve and something to increase one's footprint. It's a great opportunity. Of course, he has to travel back and forth from Detroit to Atlanta, but it sounds like he felt like he was annoyed and hurt that she was calling him back. Now, of course, this was during the pandemic, which meant that obviously as well, people were afraid of their people dying, being sick, carrying the COVID around. So that's also something to bear in mind. What's your thoughts, Sean?
Was it a Marvel or DC job he had, or you saying just hypothetically?
No, I think it was for Marvel. He was being called for Marvel. Not necessarily to be an actor or anything. I think something to do with Marvel. I don't know what it was.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a tricky situation, because Detroit and Atlanta are not that close. I mean, they're not super far, but they're not that close. It's not like, if you live in New York and you work in New Jersey, it's not like you can easily get to one from the other. So I understand that separation being a challenge. And then if it was during the pandemic, that presented challenges, even more challenges, because maybe he had to quarantine and things like that. I don't know. But to me, it sounds a little fishy, because he seems like he's thriving and surviving coming back to Atlanta, to Detroit. So I need to know more. Yeah, I need to know more. Yeah, no, Love Supreme, I do know it's a 2-hour flight, but that's still not close. That's not an easy commute. You get what I'm saying? Because it's different if, I can drive an hour. I'm just an hour or two away, right? Maybe 3 hours by driving, right? If I have to literally get on a plane, that may not work. Some people's relationships, that can work. And I think this is where it comes back to it's not about right or wrong, right? Because theoretically, could him staying in Atlanta have made them a millionaire? But could it have been the undoing of their relationship? So you need to pick. You need to pick what's going to work.
That's what you're saying.
And does he really need to be in Atlanta to do that particular job? Can he have done it from home? Was it just a choice? Like what was her reasons for demanding him to come home? Was there something he wasn't telling her? Was he just wanting to be out here running a man's school in Atlanta and doing whatever the hell he wants to do? Meanwhile, she's home in a whole nother states away with the kids, right? So I think that's my lesson throughout all of these shows, is like, what's the betterment of the relationship, and what's really the root cause of all of this? Because there has to be more than we're hearing. And when this dude gets to talking, my eyebrow goes up just a smidge, because I think he be on some BS just a little bit.
You ain't lying, bro. You ain't lying. Let's play a little bit more.
With working with the studios there, Disney, Marvel, it was during when COVID first hit.
He made the decision to go without having the discussion as a family about going to Atlanta. During COVID, I was working in the hospital and then having to deal with children at home during.
Okay. There's a bit more information there. What are you saying, Sean? It's not looking good. It's not looking good.
Yeah. And somebody said in the comments, during the pandemic, what was Disney and Marvel doing?
Yeah, the studios was open for some reason. I don't know why, but
what were they doing that he couldn't do remotely? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not with Anthony on this. And his wife's a whole doctor, and it's during the pandemic. Yeah, I think he needed to get himself back to Detroit. And he knew it too. You know, it's like, I think this happens in relationships too, right? This goes back to kind of a little bit of, it's similar, but just different, right? We do something that we know we need to do, but we still want to complain about it a little bit, right? So we still want to, but it's not really, we want to make it an issue, but it's not an issue because clearly they're doing just fine. And he knew he needed to be back in Detroit.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, that whole just on the surface without hearing anything else, that just don't make sense to me. And then he did it without talking to them. So I think that was
that's
a
key part.
And thank you for sharing that clip, because that made it even more important. And this is where it comes the discussion versus permission. And Latoya didn't say that. She said you just did it without discussing it, right? You made a decision without discussing it with the family and, you know, having a plan that we all could be on the same page about. So I think if anything, that was the biggest offense. And then the second was, did he really need to be there for that duration of time?
Yeah, and I think that's the key point, isn't it? It's that there was no discussion there, so there was no game plan implemented. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, there's no game plan there. Of course, he wanted to search out and obviously go for his achievements, but he just needs to discuss that with her. They're gonna come up with a game plan. Maybe they got grandmas or whatever. If that's the case, she has to work. Grandma can take the kids and they can quarantine with grandma, whatever, etc. If that had to be the one, or if that had to be it. So you know, it's conversation that needed to happen. But especially if it's during COVID, that's an even more touchier time because we were quarantining. You couldn't just go anywhere like that. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't even leave your area. At one point, it felt like Hunger Games. You were in Section 5. You shouldn't be going to Section 7. At one point, especially in the UK, they was like, listen, you can't even go to London. We're in Birmingham. You can't go to London. You need to stay in your Birmingham. If we see you go to London, you're gonna get fined. Like at one point, it was that bad. So yeah, that question of obviously is it having a conversation is important. You can't override, and that's the difficulty of having a family. You know that now you no longer are just responsible for you. It's because you're now responsible for everyone else. You can't just take an executive decision like this. Now, also, if he was the only breadwinner, he would have more say on this, but you don't because you ain't the only breadwinner. So you've got to be able to clear it with the other partner, and that's what makes it difficult. But that's where a workaround should happen. I think he thought if we discuss this, there's gonna be no workaround. You know what I mean? Like he ain't gonna have one. But yeah, it's one of those ones. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. And I think, you know, listen, it's obvious he values his marriage, right? Because he brought himself right on back. Yep. He knew what he had to do,
right back.
But he just wanted to do a lot of talking in between, you know? I think he just wanted to flex his muscle a little bit, right? But she was like, yeah, bro, you know I'm a whole doctor out here, so get yourself right back. Stop playing your foolishness. You cannot be in Atlanta long term.
You need to relax yourself, bro. You need to relax yourself, brother. Let's go on to then the last scene, because obviously I know Kolby and thing didn't really have much to say, but we'll go on to the last part of the scene because there was a lot that was happening between the couples, but mainly Kristina and Brandon and their situation where Kolby decided to open her mouth and reveal secrets, which had nothing to do with her, but she decided to share it. So let's just watch about this. There we go. Oh, am I gone too early?
How did you know?
Well, Russell shared with me that Brandon had a new artist.
A few days ago.
Yes. You're developing a new artist?
How did you know?
Well, Russell shared with me that Brandon had a new artist.
A few days ago, I talked to Brandon. He has a new artist that he's working with.
Who's the new artist?
I don't remember her name. I can't even think.
Oh, it's a female.
Yo, who needs enemies when you got snitches like that in your home? That was the beginning of it. I'm sure I'll play a bit more of the clip a little bit as we go along. But whew, baby, listen, Sean, talk to me, man, because that was nuts.
It'd be your own friends. It'd be your own friends. You know? Listen, I think there's enough blame to go around for this one. because you know, if what's old boy's name? If Russell knows that Kolby can't hold water for nothing, right? Then he shouldn't have been pillow talking, right? And if he really felt like he needed to tell her, he should have given a disclaimer. And Kolby, who needs friends, like you said? You know, who needs enemies? You know, when you got friends like that. Come on now, Kolby. This was their anniversary dinner.
Yeah.
And you want to go talking about a new artist, even if you thought she knew. Why, ma'am? Just keep it light, sis. You know, and we were talking about this. It's like you got to be careful about your friends and who surrounds you as a couple when you're married. And it's not always everybody intentionally gunning for you, but sometimes people who aren't thoughtful enough, and these are married folk, right? To just think about, like, do I need to say that? Like, I could say it, but this is their anniversary dinner. I won't even bring it up because you don't know. Because you married, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what she knows. Like, you want to keep it light. It's an anniversary dinner. Ma'am, shh. Just be quiet. You know? Just shh. It's okay to shh sometimes.
Don't do too much. Yeah, no, she was definitely doing too much. I'll play a little bit more of the clip and then I'll talk more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I told him that she didn't know yet.
I'm recording the girl that's pretty much my artist.
Okay.
That I haven't told my wife about yet.
So why haven't you told your wife?
I have to find the right way to present it.
Yo, the way he looks at his boy. Did you see the way he looks at his boy?
But he told him, and this is where I blame Russell, because he told him, I haven't told my wife yet. And like a good friend, he was like, hey, why haven't you told your wife? So if you know he didn't tell his wife, maybe you just need to sit on this and mind your business too, Russell. Come on now. He was like, really, bro? Get your wife.
Get your wife. Don't let me come and tussle over there, bro. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's honestly, it's crazy because honestly, like that in a sense was political. For the fact that Kolby can do that, it's honestly, personally, I'm looking at both of them. So Russell out here, you know that he hasn't told his wife, right? So you know this information can't slip and fall. You get what I'm saying to you? But like you said, bro, you know what your wife is. Like, I know people that if I tell this information to, I know it's not going to slip. So I'll tell you because I know that you know how to handle yourself amongst people and how to handle a secret amongst those people that are in that place. I know that other people that when I tell you something, your lip is loose. You don't know that your lip is loose. No, I'm not going to tell you that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that is in itself a form of protection as well sometimes, not to tell your partner certain things because you know we're going to be around people and you're going to release the stuff. You're going to feel some type of way and you're going to say something. That's just how you are. No beef, but I now know who you are. I'm just not going to tell you. And remember, she wasn't in that room when he was telling him while they were playing pool. So actually, there's no onus on him to say something to his wife, but he decided to tell it because he wanted to pillow talk. Yeah, you like a little gossip. That's the truth.
Listen, I mean, and women know this, you know, about us. Sometimes you get a little bit of information, you got to tell somebody. You know, you just got to.
Yeah.
But you got to pick the right person. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it should be your wife. You should be able to tell your wife, right? But if your wife is, you know, a wet paper towel with information, you know, she's gonna fold and fall apart. You gotta just tell somebody else. You know, just tell somebody else. But he couldn't hold it, bro. Oh man, bro slipped up big time. I know Brandon was like, God damn, I can't trust nobody.
Yeah, can't give no information.
I can't trust nobody.
God
I got an interrogator over here. It's like
He was
really?
so pissed, bro. Like, really, nigga, come on, man. Like, you gonna let your wife come up in it, and then the fact that you don't stop her from saying it, well, you ain't gonna get your wife.
Exactly. See, and like all couples, you need to be able to have that immediate pause, right? Like, I need to be able to look at my wife and be like, she could just look at my eyes and be like, okay. You know?
Really,
and vice versa. If I'm saying something a little too far, she just needs to be able to cock her head to the side and just be like, oh, okay. And I just
nigga,
know to
hold your pauses, nigga.
Exactly.
Hold your pauses. Hold your pauses, because you out here doing the most.
We had a headlock.
Is that the only new artist you're developing?
It is feeling like straight up betrayal. I see what you're doing, and if you want to do this on the anniversary, then you got to do better than that.
Is Brandon coming at me? Brandon, this is your wife. I would have expected your wife to know before your boy. Like, I'm just saying, like, I would have expected you to communicate that with
Sometimes
you.
guys
No,
want that.
Listen, but check it out.
No.
Stay out of their household.
Now he told her a little bit late. He told her a little bit late. She already done about 3 or 4 sentences.
The damage was already done.
Already done. Like, bro, what are you doing? Now you're allowing her to keep on going. A moment if your lips, I'll be like, babe. Like,
Let's
this
wrap
is
this up.
no. Wrap it up, because you mashing me up and you mashing you up. You're now looking messy as well, because you're volunteering information that never needs to be volunteered. Do you get what I'm saying? If it had been that the girls were talking and it slipped out, it'd have been like, oh, babe, come on, man, you have to let it slip out. All right, well, it's what it is. But no, you do it in front of the whole group, and then you have the audacity to keep on talking like, what, she didn't know? You mean I would have expected your wife to have known that you were doing this. Nah, now you sticking the knife in too on our anniversary. So yeah, I do understand why he was like saying to her like, you know, you're not gonna try and break us. You're not gonna. I know what you're doing, and you're not gonna try and do this on our anniversary. It's disrespectful. At that point, you're not a truth teller. You're disrespectful. It's nowhere near the time nor the season to do that in a conversation with everybody around. That was messy for me personally.
And at that point, she took out her AK-47 and she was like, because Brandon tried to like, and he was nice about it. He was like, on our anniversary, really? She could have that was a moment to just be like, you know what?
I apologize.
I didn't mean to do that. I kind of overstepped. I thought she knew. My apologies. You know? Nope. She went gunning for him, and then her husband tried to step in. No. She was like, no. Pop. I'm saying it. I thought she knew, and I'm right, and I don't care.
That goes messy. That's a scary to have, man. If someone does that, knowing that the wife didn't know as well. You knew the wife didn't know because she didn't discuss it with you. So you know she would feel some type of way. She probably would have discussed it with you. No, that was messy, bro. I think there's a little bit more, but that was hella messy.
I'm not in their household. All I'm saying
in our household
She
right now.
doesn't have her whole leg in her household.
She got a toe or something.
No.
Stay here.
Everybody's talking and they're going back and forth, but nobody's answering the question that I want to know.
Who's the new artist?
Huh? You about to say, huh? Who's new artist, huh? You feel like go away with it, huh?
Christina is on it, boy. She don't. You don't want to mess with her because she's like, she wasn't even distracted by other old girls. She was like, who is this artist? She was like, all of that is good.
Pipe down, because what I need to know.
Because I know it's a heifer. Who the heifer? Don't play with me. I'm scared of her. I'm not gonna lie. That's why Brandon knew his energy was about to get shifted. He was like, oh, God.
He was about to get turned inside out. It's a little bit more.
It's a girl. She's pretty dope.
Like, is this somebody that's signed to you?
Yes.
Like with a contract?
Yes.
His eyes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. You go in and sign a contract without letting your wife know.
Yo, brother was holding his knees and like, yes.
It was the rocket, but do you see him?
The rocket, yeah, the rocket.
He's trying to hold his peace, but he knows. He's about to get flambéed.
He knows who's in trouble. Brother said, "Oh snap, she got the clip on him, brother. Let me just answer these questions straight." You know what I mean? Like she's holding a gun to his head right now, and brother's just like, hey, yes, whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, he should have told her. I know he might have been tough, to break it down to her, but this is how start things happen, and we start looking sneaky. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, once you told old boy Russ. I mean, again, you're probably hoping that your boy would not say anything, but once you tell Russell, me personally, if I tell someone and they got a man, I got a husband or wife, I'm kind of expecting that thing's gonna come out. So better I go and tell my wife quickly before someone else comes and says it, because people be talking, and partners talk because they're partners. That is it. You know what I mean? I can't be mad at the fact that a partner's talking, but I can't be mad at the fact that Kolby did what she did. But you got to be ready for that, man. You just got to be ready for that. But he should have. But it does make it look like there's something more underfoot by not saying anything. It's a woman, it's a girl, it's a young girl. You've had an emotional connection previously. It's gonna look bad. It's gonna look bad. So now you really are looking bad because you didn't say anything.
Absolutely, and he has to be accountable for that, right? And I'm gonna say he wanted to tell her, right? Just devil's advocate, right? He wanted to tell her, and I think some people in his situation, especially because there was some history there. He was practicing first. So sometimes people do this. So they practice on somebody else / maybe wanted to say it out loud before they truly say it to the person. So I think that is an option. Now, he probably was going to wait till the last minute when he didn't have a choice. Obviously, they're on a show, and he told the man on camera. So I don't think he thought that he would never have to deal with it, but I think he thought he could choose it in his own timing, which was not correct.
Absolutely, bro. Let's play the last bit of this clip.
That's something that you should have said to me.
I had plans on telling you. I told Russ I was going to tell you.
You sign a contract.
Listen, you about to get all upset over some paperwork. You done signed hella brand deals without telling me first.
Brand deals is not the same thing.
How's it different?
He tries to flip it with the whole, but you sign contracts with brand deals. I do get what he's saying, but I just think to myself, in this instance, it's probably not the best time to be saying that kind of thing. You're trying to drop the bomb on her, but this ain't the moment, nor is your example strong enough about these bombs, because yours has a little bit extra. Now, has she been signing brand deals to be a solo model for a guy? Yeah, I can see what you're trying to say. But signing a brand deal, I mean, she's not signing it to be a solo model for one guy. You are signing a contract with a young lady to be an artist on your particular label, and you're gonna be working closely with them as well because you're gonna be producing music. The two ain't the same. But then you try that, but you dropping that is kind of showing that you don't want to take accountability. You're trying to defend yourself. You've been defensive at this moment, and so instead of actually accepting the criticism, you are now trying to deflect from it and trying to create a little scene in return. But the reality is, bro, nah, it's not the same. So yeah, but you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, right? And I think so many disagreements can be better settled with, once you realize you down bad, you just admit it. My bad. I should have told you first. I hesitated. And I apologize. That's it, But I think it's like when you're in such a public setting like that, you get it again. People are getting locked into the who's right, who's wrong, right? And I think that now he wants to defend himself when he should have just owned it and that he made a mistake, right? And it's not that she signed a brand deal, told her friend, and now the husband is telling you about a brand deal you didn't know, right? If he just signed the artist and nobody knew, and then maybe she found out another way, it still would be wrong, but the offense wouldn't be as great. But you chose to do something without telling her then you told somebody in your friend group, and now it comes back to her through another source that's not you. So you can't start, pulling up things from history. That never works in arguments. That's actually the worst way to handle an argument, is say, well, if I tell you, oh, I didn't like this, then you say, well, you did this to me 2 months ago. Hey, time out. We're getting lost. We're getting
sucked in.
We're getting lost here.
You're taking this down to a different turn. I need you to stop. Pause for a minute. Wait up. You ain't lying. So, nah, bro, I definitely hear you on that, and you ain't telling no lies about them. That's 100% the truth right there. I think there's a little bit more where she explains a little bit. Yeah, I want to get to that part where she just says, because there's a history behind why she felt the way she did.
That's why you come to me and you tell me. You don't just go and get a whole new artist and not bring it to me. Why do I have to be here finding out that you have a new artist? It takes away from our time. It takes away from family time. We're supposed to be building something new. We've been talking about that. And now you're bringing somebody else into the equation. How do we start something new? Make time for other stuff. Make time for date night. You on my head about date nights, but now you're about to give your time to a whole nother person. And
Woo, can feel her pain right there, baby. Felt her pain. Oh, sorry, felt her pain right there. Yeah, that was oof. Brother tried to go. Let's go to private. It's too late now, bro.
That was the moment. It's too late. What he needed to do was just go wrap his legs around her and hug her from the back and just say, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry for 2004," like Ruben Studdard said, and just hold on. Hold on to me, baby.
Yo. Oh man.
This ain't the time to take it to the separate part of the park.
You're there, my boy. You're there, my boy. Hold it down, my boy. You had to hold it down, bro. Like and she hasn't recovered from that infidelitous behavior emotionally, and I get it. It's painful. So, and then when you see the repeat pattern of behavior, that's also infuriating. That's also painful. And the worst bit is also the fact that he hasn't actually done anything crimeful yet, but it is the steps towards the crime that are also very painful. Because if I give you any leeway, you'll commit the crime. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm stuck in limbo almost in a sense. So it's very painful for her to see that and go through that. And the fact that someone else told her is also political. And she's going through some pain, and this is why, again, I'm talking about the word being cognizant and being aware of the impact of your behaviors. Sir, by you not telling her, look where we are now. We're in a field with your other niggas around you who done set you up like they are trying to set you up for a gang and take your money, bro. Like,
you know they be getting you about the N-word. You better cut it out.
What, them niggas?
You're better than that. Stop it.
I'm sorry, niggas. I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh my God. Not to double down. Not to double down.
I apologize. I'm trying. I'm learning.
Yeah, old girl needs a hug and they need some healing. I really do feel bad. I know we made jest of how he should have handled it, but at the end of the day, like, they need that level of transparency behind closed doors and to really just heal and deal with it, because it's not being dealt with. You know what I really think? This is what I think. Whatever happened, I think he's justified what he did. Because if he was truly remorseful, he wouldn't be handling her this way. And that's why I think they both need to sit down and get to the root of whatever happened and what it led to, because it's going to continue to happen, because this is a level of unfaithfulness and infidelity. And this is why she feels so betrayed in this moment, because he was, again, unfaithful to her because he wasn't honest. And then he chose to share his honesty, and that's intimacy with another friend. It wasn't sexual, obviously, right? But he shared that with a friend that he didn't bring to her. So she feels, again, betrayed. So I don't think he fully has dealt with what he did and really truly feels remorseful for what he did, because he continues to do it. in different ways that he can justify, but he still is being dishonest and unfaithful and in their marriage.
You're actually right, bro. He needs to actually. That's why, like you said earlier on, you need to know why you do what you do. Like when you're developing when you're trying to find out, when you're trying to discuss about cheating that's happened in the past, you need to understand why you did what you did. And it's been obviously some time now. He should be able to develop at least some aspect of a why he ended up doing what he did. You know, what pushed him to the edge that he would actually want to cheat on his partner emotionally. So he has to be honest about that as well. And then, yeah, right. Like there's certain behaviors that are going to be contributing towards your sly behavior that you did last time because you're doing it again. You know what I mean? Instead of actually being open and honest and being quite frank, irrespective of how she feels, we're in this situation now, right? We're in a situation now where you're in the field with these ninjas. Okay, so I don't say that way because some people will say this word, but you're in the field with some ninjas, and the ninjas don't set you up for the kill, bro. You know what I mean? Now your relationship all looking rocky simply because someone else decided that they wanted to open their mouths to the wrong person.
And y'all ladies in the comments need to cut it out. Men do have emotional affairs too. So you need to cut it out. It's not always physical. Maybe it was physical, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But men can have an emotional relationship, you know, just like y'all have y'all work husbands, we have our work wives. And sometimes the work wife stays as the work wife. It doesn't make it right. And I think it's still a level of you know, there's a level of betrayal that's in there in that nature of a relationship.
They said not engineers who stay in the studio late at night.
Tyra said, what the hell is a work husband and a worker? You know what that is, Tyra. Cut it out.
Honestly, I'll be shook, bro. If I'm in a relationship married, I'll be shook. If I've got a pretty person in the room, I can't lie to you, brother. I'll be a little bit shook. I'll be trying everything to keep a nice little distance between us two. That's my weakness. I can't lie to you. So, me personally, I'll try to set up some boundaries. If there needs to be a third person in the room, let there be a third person in the room because I can't. I know me. I know my pinus. It decides sometimes to get a little bit excited. Yeah, I need that third person in the room. That person is a good buffer and blocker needed. Yeah, I'm not gonna be all alone with you. Sorry. Not if I'm in a relationship. I gotta protect my relationship. I gotta protect me. I gotta protect my wife. I gotta protect my children, man. So definitely I'll put that in place because I don't need that trouble in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's wild. Before you know it, you're stuck somewhere. You know what I mean? And now you're working together too. So it's like every night you're gonna be doing that. You're gonna be knacking before you know it. No. Before you know it, you're the source of inspiration for our next song. No, not me. Sorry, can't do it. You know, I can't do it. I gotta give myself a bit of space. Someone said I gotta talk about P discipline. Listen, my P discipline starts with somebody in the room because me personally being alone with somebody I'm attracted to late at night, working with them for hours on end. For instance, if I'm doing YouTube content, if I'm filming YouTube content, that's fine. Filming, I'm actively doing something. I'm filming something. But let's say I'm editing with you. No. We don't need that. No, we don't need to be in a room if I'm editing for the next 2-3 hours, chatting and talking late at night. No. That's how things start. I know myself. I know the trouble I bring. I know how quickly I could be in the booth, putting some fire in there. No, I can't do it. Okay, so sorry, guys, not for me. You know. Someone said have Sean, another round said have Sean in the room. The way he block, you'll have no worries. Absolutely, exactly. Look at that. Sean coming with the heavy blockers, defending us all.
No, she's saying I'm a cock block.
I don't know. Oh, what a moment there. I love that moment.
Yeah, you're the worst. And that's not true.
Yeah. Don't worry, we got DC to make up for it, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And you wasn't in DC, Jay, so you missed it.
Sorry.
I'm multifaceted.
I'm a changed man.
I'm changed. One thing about me, I make a mistake. I know how to
course
pivot.
correct.
Exactly.
You gonna hold me to something? I'm changed. I'm changed now. That's the old me. I'm reborn, baby. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, that was episode 1, guys. Of the show. Like I said, a really good show. I love the where they're taking it to. Hopefully episode 2 will be just as entertaining as well. We'll be back here next week to talk a little bit more about Love and Marriage in Detroit. But we'll see you guys soon. Much love, much appreciation. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Again,